Hospitals don't sleep. The lights dim, the visitors leave, the hallways empty. But the machines keep running, the monitors keep beeping, and the patients, the ones who can't leave, the ones who can't move, they're still there, in the dark, waiting for the morning. And somewhere on the ward, one nurse is making rounds alone, checking vitals, answering call buttons, walking through corridors that were full of people 12 hours ago and are now completely empty, except for the sound of her shoes on the floor and the rhythm of machines keeping people alive. Most shifts are uneventful, but every nurse who has worked the night shift long enough has a story they don't tell during the day. Something they saw, something they heard, something they can't explain and have stopped trying to. And these are 3 of those stories. I've been a night shift nurse for 7 years. Cardiac recovery ward, 12-bed unit on the 3rd floor. My shift runs 7 in the evening to 7 in the morning. Most nights, it's me and one other nurse covering the ward, plus a charge nurse floating between our floor and the one below. The patients on cardiac recovery are stable, post-surgical, monitored. They're past the crisis point. The night shift is about watching numbers, responding to call buttons, and making sure nothing goes sideways while the hospital skeleton crews through until morning. About 2 years ago, on a Tuesday night in February, I was charting at the nursing station around 2 a.m. My colleague was on break. The ward was quiet. Every patient accounted for. Every monitor reading normal. The heart monitor alarm in room 312 went off. That's a flatline alarm, a sustained, unbroken tone that means a heart has stopped producing a readable rhythm. It's the worst sound in a hospital. Your body reacts before your brain does. You're already moving before you've consciously processed what it means. I was at the door of 312 in about 8 seconds. 312 was empty. The patient had been discharged that morning. The room was cleaned. The bed stripped. The monitors were supposed to be powered down and unplugged as part of turnover. But the heart monitor was on. Screen active. Displaying a flatline. Alarm screaming. I walked to the monitor and pressed the silence button. The alarm stopped. I looked at the screen. Flat green line on black. No waveform. The leads were coiled neatly on top of the machine, not connected to anything. The heart monitor can't display a flat line without input. It needs a signal source. If the leads aren't connected, the screen shows leads off or an error message. It shouldn't display a readable flat line. That requires a circuit, skin contact, a body. I unplugged the monitor, pulled the cord from the wall. Screen went dark. I left and went back to charting. 20 minutes later, the alarm went off again. The monitor was unplugged. I had unplugged it myself. The screen was dark, but the flatline tone was coming from room 312. I went back. The monitor was exactly as I'd left it. Unplugged, screen off, dark. The alarm was not coming from the monitor. It was coming from the wall. The room's hardwired intercom system. The wall plate that connects to the nursing station was broadcasting the flatline tone. A sustained single-frequency tone on a channel no one had programmed, no one had activated. I called maintenance. They came at 6 a.m., tested the intercom, worked normally, couldn't reproduce the tone, couldn't explain it, replaced the wall plate anyway. It never happened again. I've told maybe 3 people in 7 years. The part I don't tell is what I noticed when I walked into 312 the second time. The room was cold. Not hospital cold. Cold the way a room gets when a window has been open for hours. Except 312 doesn't have a window that opens. Sealed unit. Climate controlled. I don't have an explanation. And I stopped looking for one. A nurse I know, I'll call her Danny, works overnight on a surgical recovery floor. Post-operative patients, most sedated or heavily medicated. The floor is quiet by design. Minimal stimulation, low light, minimal noise. Patients heal in peace. One night around 3 a.m., Danny was doing rounds. She passed room 418. A man in his 60s recovering from hip replacement surgery, standard procedure, in and out of consciousness all day, responsive but groggy. She glanced through the window. Overhead light off, only the monitor glow and dim corridor light through the door. The patient was sitting upright in bed, not propped up on the adjustable frame, sitting, fully upright, back straight, head turned toward the far corner of the room, eyes open. Danny stopped. This was wrong. Post-hip replacement patients are in significant pain. They don't sit up unassisted 12 hours after surgery. The medication alone should make it nearly impossible to engage the core muscles enough for that position. She opened the door. Mr. Name, are you all right? Do you need anything? He didn't look at her. He kept staring at the corner. Then he spoke, clearly, calmly, in a voice far too lucid for someone on his level of post-operative sedation. That man has been standing there since you left. Danny looked at the corner. Empty. A chair. A small table. The wall. She walked into the room, checked behind the chair, behind the curtain, the bathroom. Empty. She resettled the patient, adjusted his bed, checked the IV. Vitals normal. Medication within range. She noted it. Patient alert and oriented, ×2. Reported visual hallucination, vitals stable. And continued her rounds. In the morning, she mentioned it during handover. One of the other nurses asked which corner. Danny pointed on the room diagram, and the nurse went quiet and said, "That's the 3rd patient in that room this month who said the same thing." 3 patients, 3 weeks, same room, same corner, same report. A man standing there who no one else could see. Danny pulled the hallway security footage, not from inside the room, no cameras in patient rooms, from the corridor camera outside 418. She scrubbed to the time of the incident at 3:07 a.m. A figure walked down the corridor towards 418, past the camera, continued toward the room. Danny watched herself walk past 2 minutes later, stop, and enter. She rewound. The figure walked toward 418, reached the doorway, walked into the room. The door was closed. The figure walked through the closed door. She watched the next 4 hours of footage. The figure never came back. Danny showed the footage to the charge nurse. The charge nurse watched it twice. Then she said, and Danny remembers this word for word, "I know. We don't talk about 418. Danny still works nights. She still passes 418, but she doesn't look through the window anymore." This story is different. No ambiguity, no mystery. Just a man in a room who should not have been there. A nurse, I'm going to call her Claire, was working overnight on a general medicine ward. 16 beds, 12 occupied. Her colleague had stepped out to handle an admission on another floor, leaving Claire alone for approximately 20 minutes. At 3:15 a.m., Claire walked past room 206 and noticed the visitor chair had been moved, pulled close to the bed, close enough to reach the patient. During visiting hours, normal. At 3:15 a.m., not normal. She looked into the room. A man was sitting in the chair, mid-30s, dark jacket, no visitor badge, sitting very still, watching the patient sleep. "Excuse me, sir. Visiting hours are over. I need to ask you to leave and come back in the morning." He looked at her and smiled, not warmly, reflexively, a practiced response. "Of course. I'm her son. Just wanted to check on her before my flight." He stood, walked past Claire, close enough that she stepped back, and down the corridor to the stairwell. Didn't stop at the nursing station, didn't sign out, pushed through the stairwell door, and was gone. Claire noted it, checked the patient, stable, sleeping, undisturbed, moved the chair back. In the morning, the patient's family arrived. Claire mentioned the late-night visitor, the son, and the daughter looked at her. "My mother doesn't have a son." Claire described the man. Mid-30s, dark jacket. The daughter shook her head. "That's no one we know." Security footage. The man entered through the emergency stairwell at 2:47 a.m. Not the main entrance, not the lobby. Through a stairwell accessible from the car park level. A door that should have been locked after hours but wasn't. He walked directly to room 206. Sat down, watched the patient sleep for 28 minutes before Claire found him. His face was clear on the footage. Security captured stills, circulated within the hospital, and no one recognized him. Not staff, not a visitor from any other ward, no appointment, no record, no reason to be there. Police were called. They ran the images. No match. The patient was a 71-year-old woman recovering from pneumonia. No criminal connections, no disputes, no enemies, no valuable possessions in the room. No discernible reason for a stranger to enter a hospital at 2:47 a.m., sit beside her bed, and watch her sleep for half an hour. And And yet that's exactly what happened. Claire told me the thing that disturbs her most isn't that he was there. It's that he was comfortable. Not nervous, not sneaking. He sat in that chair the way someone sits when they've done it before. Relaxed, patient, like he knew exactly how long he could stay. 28 minutes. If Claire's colleague hadn't been called away, if 2 nurses had been on the ward, someone would have noticed sooner. First 5 minutes, maybe 2. But Claire was alone. And he knew, because the camera captured him standing in the stairwell door for 11 minutes before entering the corridor. 11 minutes of watching the nursing station, counting staff, waiting for the right moment. The stairwell lock was repaired. A camera was added to the car park entrance. The man was never identified. Claire thinks about him every shift, not because she's afraid, because a locked door and a working camera are the only things that changed. The man is still out there, and hospitals are very large, very dark, very quiet buildings at 3 a.m, with lots of rooms, and a lot of patients who can't get out of bed. Thank a nurse tonight. They walk those hallways so the patients don't have to face the dark alone. If you work in a hospital, or any building where you are alone at night with people who can't protect themselves, send me your story. Link in the description. Subscribe if you're new.